Hey there, Careblazers. Welcome back to the place where we talk about everything dementia. Dr. Natalie here, and in today's video, I am responding to a recent email I received from a Careblazer called Nancy. Nancy described feeling overwhelmed and frustrated. She has pretty much put her life on hold to care for her father with dementia, and in return, her father has accused her of stealing, freeloading, and being mean to him. Nancy feels at a loss for what to do, and in today's video, I'm going to share one of my favorite tips for dealing with hurtful comments your loved one with dementia might say to you. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, what are you waiting for? Hit that little red button on your screen, join the family, it's free, we'd love to have you. Nancy's struggle is a pretty common one for people caring for a loved one with dementia. I'm going to share with you my number one way to cope with hurtful comments, and I want you to stick with me here. So my tip that I'm going to give you is pretty simple. However, it's not exactly the easiest thing to do in real life. It takes a little bit of practice. So stick with me, and I really want you guys to try this at home. Okay, here it goes. Remind yourself that this disease makes your loved one say and do things that are hurtful. It's not actually coming from your loved one, it's coming from the disease. Remembering that one simple truth is going to make it a little less difficult and give it a little less sting when your loved one is calling you things like a freeloader. Now, even if your loved one may have always been a little bit on the mean side, or have always been rude to you, or maybe you haven't had the best relationship with your loved one, that doesn't mean that it's proof that your loved one knows what they are saying or doing. Telling yourself that your loved one knows what they're doing when they say nasty things to you does nothing to help your situation. In fact, it makes an already difficult situation much more difficult and painful. Here is my challenge to you for anybody watching this video. The next time you find yourself in a pretty negative caregiving situation, I want you to stop and ask yourself, is your thinking helping your situation? A simple question like that. Is your thinking helping the situation? If not, then it's time to change your thoughts. In fact, the only thing we pretty much have control over is our thoughts, the way that we think. And the way that we think impacts the way that we feel, and it ends up impacting the way that we treat our loved ones with dementia, and it ends up impacting the way our loved ones with dementia respond to us. The choice is yours. You can choose the path of thinking that will lead you to more anger and more resentment, and which will in turn create this negative cycle because it's going to spill over into your caregiving situation. Or you can choose to think about it in a way that doesn't lead to more anger and resentment. That choice is completely yours, no matter what things your loved one is saying or doing. Let me break this down a little further. Here's the situation. Your father calls you a liar and a thief. Your thoughts in that situation are, how mean. I've sacrificed so much of my own money and time. I care for him, and he accuses me of stealing. How ungrateful. In turn, you feel pretty angry and frustrated and upset. Your action in that situation is that you are most likely going to have less patience for his questions, ignore him, or give him short, curt responses to his future questions. For instance, saying something like, "I'm not answering your questions because you won't believe me anyway." This type of response is going to lead to more accusations of you being a liar and a thief, and it's going to continue to fuel this negative cycle. Now let's contrast that to this. So it's the same exact situation. Your father calls you a liar and a thief. But this time, instead of having that negative thought, you replace it. "This disease has robbed my father of his good judgment. It must be scary to think your own child is stealing from you." Now that kind of thought's probably going to lead more to emotions such as concern or sadness rather than anger and resentment. You're more likely going to show compassion towards your father, that's your action, and you may even respond in a more compassionate way, such as saying something like, "I'm so sorry you feel that way, Father. I love you very much, and I will never do anything to hurt you." Your father may still accuse you of being a thief or a liar in the future. After all, he has dementia and may forget this conversation. However, the chances of things smoothing over, at least temporarily, and giving you both some time away from arguing is well worth it. Which scenario sounds better to you? The one that's filled with more anger and resentment, or the one that's filled with compassion and can lead to a little bit of relief for you? Again, I want you to take away that the situation was exactly the same here. The father continued to accuse the daughter of being a liar and a thief, but the thought behind it was different, and it leads to a different reaction, which makes it better for you and for your loved one. Now, it's a pretty simple concept, just monitoring your thoughts and being able to change them to something more adaptive, something that's going to help you, but it's a challenge. So you may still find yourself, in fact, you will still find yourself having these negative, automatic thoughts pop into your mind about the caregiving situation, but the key is to recognize it, identify it, and then practice changing it to something that will help you feel a little bit different about the situation. Careblazers, the way that you respond to difficult caregiving situations is always your choice. It takes practice, it takes patience, and absolutely there are going to be times when you lose your temper and you might try to argue back or yell back. You're human. It's okay. It happens to everybody. But try practicing this idea of changing your thoughts to be more helpful, to be more adaptive. I think it will help you and your loved one. And if you haven't yet seen my video on the top 3 things not to do with your loved one who has dementia, which includes things like arguing, reasoning, and rationalizing, then I encourage you to go back and watch that, because that can also be super helpful for a situation like this. It would be pretty tempting as a daughter to try to tell her father, "That's not true, I'm not stealing your money, you're mistaken." Those things are likely to just lead to more arguments. I mean, you can certainly try them, but if it doesn't work, then this next video on top 3 things not to do with your loved one with dementia could really help in your situation. So Nancy, I definitely encourage you to watch it if you haven't already. Careblazers, I hope this video has been helpful to you in some way. And as always, if you have any questions that you want me to answer in a future video, leave them below in a comment under any of my videos or over on my Facebook page at Dementia Careblazers, and I will do my best to answer them in a future video. Until next week, Careblazers. Bye.